She thought he was just another Uber driver, until he looked at her in the rear view and said, "Don't mistake different for hire." That was the first time anyone had dared to pull her off the pedestal she built from money, titles, and fear. Before we dive in, make sure to hit subscribe, tap like, and share this video. The more voices we reach, the louder these stories become. And drop your city in the comments. Let's see where love finds us. Eliza Ward liked the way the building moved for her. The elevator doors opened before she finished pressing the button, as if the tower itself knew better than to make her wait. She stepped out onto the marble of the lobby, her thick, curvy body wrapped in a black dress that fit like it had been poured onto her. Her hips rolled with each step, deliberate and unapologetic. Men stared, women stared. No one said anything. She liked it that way. Outside, the city was a wet blur of neon and rain. The sky had turned into one dark sheet, the streetlights smeared across puddles like long melted coins. Eliza stood under the awning with her leather tote hugged to one side and her phone in her manicured hand, thumb already moving. Her usual driver had cancelled last minute. Family emergency. She'd stared at the message for a long beat, feeling something between irritation and disbelief. Everyone always had emergencies. She had results. She opened the ride app with a sigh. Uber X, arriving in 4 min. Driver, Andre K. Toyota Camry Black, rating 4.98. At least someone's good at their job, she muttered. Raindrops blew in under the awning, spotting her bare calves. She shifted her weight, feeling her feet ache in red heels she'd bought after her promotion. Youngest VP in the history of Sterling and Rowe Capital. She carried that line like jewellery. The Camry rolled up smooth and unhurried, water streaming down the windshield. The hazard lights blinked twice. The back window slid down a few inches. "Eliza?" a low, steady voice asked. She bent slightly, peering in. The driver was a black man in his early 30s, maybe. Strong jaw, smooth dark skin, close-cropped hair. His eyes were what hit her, though, calm, focused, like he'd been watching the world long enough to know it couldn't shock him anymore. A faint scent of lemon and coffee drifted out of the car. "Yes." She opened the back door. "Riverside Residences, the new tower by the river. You know it?" "Yeah," he said, nodding once. "I've got it on the app. I'm Andre. Seatbelt, please." The reminder irked her more than it should have. She slid in anyway, pulled the belt over herself with a sharp click and immediately pulled out her phone. The interior was unexpectedly clean. No crumbs, no air freshener shaped like a tree, just a plain dash, a mounted phone, and a stainless steel thermos in the cup holder. He pulled away from the curb in a smooth, slow curve that barely shifted her. "Can you avoid potholes?" she said, eyes fixed on her screen. "These heels cost more than this ride." There was a small pause. "I'll do my best," he replied, voice even. She heard the tone, polite but not deferential. It made something in her bristle. She'd had a day full of people telling her what could and couldn't be done. Legal saying no. Compliance saying slow down. Her team staring at her like they were waiting for magic. She'd given it to them, of course. Closed the deal. Pushed the numbers. Smiled through 3 different brands of fake concern. "I'm just saying," she added, a little sharper than necessary. "Some drivers fly over bumps like they're not hauling actual human beings." Lights smeared across the wet glass as they merged into traffic. Wipers thudded a steady rhythm. He didn't snap back, didn't apologize either. "Noted," Andre said quietly. She glanced up from her phone, despite herself. The way he held the wheel caught her eye, firm, sure, like nothing anyone did in the back seat could rattle him. His shoulders filled out a simple dark jacket, no logo, no flashy branding, just clean, practical. Her phone buzzed. A message from Nathan, her colleague who'd lost the promotion she'd won. "Nathan, presentation was a little hard to follow today, but congrats again." Her fingers tightened. She typed, deleted, typed again, then locked the screen without answering. The nerve. If it had been hard to follow, it was because she'd been the only one in the room thinking 3 steps ahead. "You all right back there?" Andre's voice cut in, not intrusive but present. She hadn't realized her breathing had gone shallow. "I'm fine," she said quickly. "Just work." He nodded once, eyes still on the road. "Long day?" She gave a humorless laugh. "Every day is a long day." He didn't respond right away. The silence pressed, but it wasn't awkward. More like he was deciding if she really wanted an answer, or just wanted the question to hang there like perfume. Rain drummed harder on the roof. Red brake lights stretched like veins across the slick asphalt as traffic slowed near an intersection. A bus sighed to a stop beside them. "You know," he said finally, "there's this thing I tell myself when it's been one of those days." She tilted her head, automatically skeptical. "You drive strangers around for a living. I run numbers that can move markets. I think we're having different kinds of days." He glanced at her in the rearview mirror. For a second, she saw it clearly. The flash of amusement, then the firm line of his mouth as he decided how much of that to show. "Pain is pain," he said. "Stress is stress. The what changes, the how it hits doesn't. Anyway," he shrugged lightly, "I remind myself that nobody in the car is more or less human than anybody else, including me." She felt annoyance rise, hot and defensive. "I didn't say you weren't human," she replied. "I just said our worlds are different." "Sure." His tone stayed calm, but there was a quiet weight to it now. "Just don't mistake different for higher." The words landed harder than she wanted them to. She pushed her back into the seat, eyes narrowing slightly. "You don't know anything about me," she said. He nodded. "You're right. I know you're headed to Riverside Residences, though, and that you're still breathing a little too fast for someone who says she's fine." She froze, realizing he'd noticed. Her chest rose and fell a bit quicker than usual. She hated being read. "It's just adrenaline from work," she said. "Nothing I can't handle." He took a slow breath, and she could almost feel him counting it in his head. In for 4, out for 6. Grounded, unhurried. "Try this," he offered. "Inhale while we pass 3 streetlights. Exhale while we pass the next 4. Won't cure your whole life, but it'll get you out of your head and back into the car." She stared at the back of his head, at the easy way he spoke to her like she was just another person, not a walking promotion. "I don't need breathing exercises from my Uber driver," she said. The words clipped. He didn't apologize, he didn't push, he just drove. Outside, the lights slid past, 1, 2, 3. Without meaning to, she matched them. Her lungs filled. The car felt steadier beneath her. The next 4 lights blurred together as she exhaled, shoulders dropping a fraction. He said nothing, but she saw the corner of his mouth tug upward in the mirror. "Don't," she warned. "Didn't say a word," he replied softly. They crossed the bridge, the river below a black ribbon stitched with gold reflections. Her building rose ahead, all glass and steel, its top floors lost in cloud. She'd picked it because of how it made her feel when she looked at it. Untouchable. Andre pulled up to the entrance, hazards blinking. The doorman hurried out with an umbrella, opening her door. "Riverside Residences," Andre said. "Home." She hesitated, fingers curled around the door handle. The word home felt strange tonight, too big and too empty at the same time. "Thanks," she said, voice lower, "for the ride." "And the unsolicited therapy," he replied dryly. Despite herself, her lips twitched. "You're very sure of yourself." "Not really," he said. "I'm just sure we're not better than each other, not in here." He tapped the steering wheel lightly. "We're just 2 people trying to get through the rain." She stepped out into the cool wash of city air, the doorman's umbrella catching most of the drops. As she walked toward the revolving doors, she glanced back. Andre was still there, checking his app, the interior light casting a soft glow on his profile. Calm. Steady. Like the storm outside couldn't touch him. For reasons she couldn't name, she saved him as a favorite driver. Later, lying alone in her expensive, silent apartment with the view of the river she'd once thought proved she'd made it, she realized something unsettling. It wasn't the compliments from senior partners or the congratulatory emails that replayed in her mind. It was his voice, quiet and firm, echoing under the hum of the rain. "Just don't mistake different for higher." Eliza almost cancelled the ride 3 times before the car even arrived. Monday had clawed at her from the moment she opened her eyes. She'd woken up tangled in silk sheets, the glow of the river beyond her floor-to-ceiling windows doing nothing to soften the dull ache behind her eyes. Her phone was already buzzing, emails, calendar alerts, a text from her mother that read like a receipt for every expectation Eliza still hadn't met. "Mom, saw the press release. VP is good, but don't get comfortable. Your cousin made partner last year." She'd stared at the message, jaw clenched, the old heat climbing her neck. "Thick girls like you have to work harder," her mother used to say, half-whispered behind closed doors. "People need another reason to respect you." Eliza had made herself into a walking reason. By 8:30 a.m, she'd already fought with legal, steamrolled a junior associate who dared suggest a different strategy, and snapped at the receptionist for mispronouncing a client's name. The receptionist had whispered, "Sorry, Miss Ward," eyes lowering. Something about the way those eyes had dropped stuck with her, a small stone in her shoe all morning. By 11:15, she was late for an off-site meeting across town. Her usual car service was fully booked. Her calendar pulsed red. She stared at the screen, then thumbed open the rideshare app. Uber X, 3 Min Andre K. Toyota Camry 4.98. Her heart gave a tiny, unexpected jump. It annoyed her almost as much as the day itself. She hit confirm. The sidewalk outside Sterling and Row buzzed with lunchtime traffic. She strode out in a cream blouse tucked into a high-waisted pencil skirt that hugged her thick hips and soft belly, every curve deliberate. The heels were lower today, but still sharp enough to be armor. The Camry slid to the curb like it had been waiting for her all along. Hazard lights blinked twice. The back window rolled down. "Eliza?" His voice was the same, steady, warm, like it had space inside it. She pulled the door open. "Yes, Midtown Exchange. I'm late. Can we—" "Seatbelt first," Andre said, glancing at her in the mirror. "Then we can talk miracles." She huffed, but clicked the belt into place. "You're very big on rules." "I'm big on people walking away from accidents," he said easily. "Saves everyone paperwork." The car slipped into traffic. City noise rushed past the windows. Inside it was calm, the faint smell of lemon and coffee wrapping around her. "Rough morning?" he asked. "You have no idea," she muttered, opening her laptop. "And I'm not paying surge pricing to unpack it with my Uber driver." He chuckled softly. "You matched with me again. That's not surge, that's fate." She looked up, startled. "You believe in fate?" "I believe the city has 8 million people, and somehow I'm driving you twice in a row," he said. "Feels statistically impolite to ignore." She tried not to smile. "Maybe you're just the only one who drives this route. Maybe." His eyes flicked to the mirror. "Maybe you like the breathing trick." Heat crawled up her neck. "I did not." "Of course not," he said, mouth twitching. "So, Midtown Exchange, big deal?" "It's just work." She shut the laptop a little too hard. "Everything is a big deal, all the time. That's how you stay ahead." "Is that how you stay happy?" he asked. She gave a short, humorless laugh. "Happy isn't in my job description." They fell into silence. Outside, the city unfolded. Vendors under umbrellas, people dodging puddles, a guy on a bike weaving too close to the cars. Andre's hand stayed steady on the wheel, fingers loose but precise. A few blocks later, traffic stopped dead. A river of red brake lights stretched ahead. "You've got to be kidding me," Eliza groaned, checking the time. "I cannot be late for this." Andre studied the map on his phone. "We can try the avenue parallel, but it's a mess there too. There's construction on 48th. "So do something," she snapped. "You're the driver." The words hung there, sharp and cutting. She heard herself like an echo, like every senior partner who'd ever talked down to her, like the investors who interrupted her mid-sentence to praise her slides and question her competence in the same breath. Andre's jaw flexed just once. He didn't raise his voice, didn't roll his eyes. He just turned slowly to look at her in the mirror. "I am the driver," he said quietly, "not your punching bag." His tone wasn't angry, it was worse, disappointed, firm. A line drawn in rain-slick concrete, something in her chest pinched. "I didn't." "Yeah," he said, still calm. "You did." "Yeah." He faced forward again. "I get that you're stressed, but I'm a person having a day too. Don't make mine worse because yours is on fire." No one spoke to her like that. Not clients, not colleagues, not men on dates hungry for her attention. For a second she wanted to bark back, to remind him she could tip badly or complain or what? Ruin the rating of some guy whose car smelled like lemon and coffee and quiet safety? The silence stretched. A horn blared behind them. Andre flicked his hazard lights on and off in response, a small, controlled gesture. She swallowed. The edges of her frustration softened just enough to let another feeling in, something unfamiliar and heavy. Shame. "I'm sorry," she forced out, the words strange on her tongue. "I shouldn't have spoken to you like that." He nodded once. "Thank you." "You don't even know what this meeting is," she said a little defensively. "It matters." "Everything matters to someone," he replied. "My next stop is a grocery store run for an old woman who can't carry her bags. doesn't make her day less important than yours. The image dislodged her. In her world, grocery runs were tasks outsourced to apps and anonymous hands. People who delivered things didn't have faces, not really. They had functions. You do that? She asked, before she could stop herself. Sometimes, Andre said. Some rides I take for the money, some I take because I'd want someone to help my grandmother like that. He paused. Also, she makes the best sweet potato pie I've ever had, so there's a selfish angle. She snorted, the unexpected laugh breaking through. You have a grandmother who pays you in pie. Pie and stories, he said. Stories are the real payment. Pie's just interest. The tension in her stomach loosened a fraction. Traffic crept forward. He signalled, slipped into a side street, and started weaving through a maze of smaller roads she didn't know. Do you ever feel like you're above it? She asked suddenly. Above what? He said. All of this. She gestured vaguely. People, their drama, their needs, like you're just better at handling it, smarter, stronger. He considered that, turning left, then right. I feel like I see things clearly sometimes, he said. But that doesn't make me better. Just means I've been dragged through enough mess to recognize the pattern. You say that like we're all on the same level, she said. But we're not. Some people work harder, some people succeed, some people don't. You equate success with worth, he said. That's one way to live, not the only way. That's the real world, she shot back. People respect what they can measure. He glanced at her again, eyes steady. Is that why you talk the way you do? To make sure they measure you, right? Her throat tightened. The question landed too close. When you're a thick woman in rooms full of thin men with thin patients, she said, voice cooler now, you learn to go in sharp, or you get cut. Andre didn't flinch. I get that, he said, but there's a difference between protecting yourself and stabbing everybody who gets close. The words stung because they were true. She thought of the receptionist, of the junior associate, of the look in Nathan's eyes when she'd taken the promotion he'd assumed was his. Maybe I'm tired of bleeding first, she murmured. Then change the blade, not the whole world, he said softly. They pulled up to Midtown Exchange with 3 minutes to spare. The massive lobby doors loomed ahead, a different kind of glass and marble, a different set of suits and curated smiles. Andre shifted into park. The meter ticked. Her phone buzzed with a reminder. Meeting with Hartwell Partners, 11:30 a.m. She didn't move. You're here, he said gently. Yeah. Her hand rested on the door handle, but her gaze stayed forward. Can I ask you something? Sure. Why are you driving Uber? She blurted. You talk like someone who should be on the other side of these lobbies. His lips curved. I am. Just not in your lobbies. I drive mornings and evenings. Daytime, I'm finishing my degree. In what? Social work, he said. Community advocacy. I like helping people navigate systems that weren't built for them to win. She blinked. So you're choosing this? I'm choosing to be where people are honest, he corrected. You'd be amazed how real folks get in the back seat when they think you're invisible. Her cheeks warmed. She wondered uncomfortably what she'd sounded like to him so far. And you, he asked, why are you doing what you're doing? Because I'm good at it, she said automatically. Because I like winning. He studied her for a long moment. Is that the same as liking yourself? Her fingers tightened on the handle. A security guard at the door checked his watch, scanning the curb for her. I have to go, she said. I know, Andre replied. Eliza, back. You're allowed to want more than being the sharpest person in the room, he said quietly. You don't have to earn your right to breathe. The sentence cracked something open in her. She masked it with a smirk. You give this many speeches to all your passengers? She asked. Only to the ones who think they're better than everyone, he said, eyes kind but unyielding. They usually need it the most. She stepped out of the car. The air felt colder than before. She turned back. Are you driving later today? She asked, surprising herself. I might be, he said, but the app doesn't let me take reservations. Not from just anyone anyway. She raised a brow. And from who? He smiled, the first real unguarded smile she'd seen from him. From people who remember I'm a person before I'm a driver. Her chest tightened. I'll keep that in mind. As she walked into the building, her heels clicking against polished stone, she realized the strangest thing. For the first time in years, she was more interested in getting back into that car than walking into the room where everyone knew her name. And under all the noise of her day, the deals, the expectations, the silent measurements, Andre's words kept threading through, quiet but insistent. You don't have to earn your right to breathe. The third time Eliza got into Andre's car, she wasn't wearing armor. No red-bottom heels. No sculpted dress. No careful contouring to make her cheekbones look sharper than her words. It was Friday night, and she'd walked out of Sterling and Row with her hair pulled into a messy knot, mascara smudged at the corners of her eyes, and a cardigan thrown over the soft curves of her body like she was trying to hide inside it. The city around her glittered like it always did. But it felt far away, like she was watching it on a screen. Her ride request had been instinct, not strategy. Uber X, 2 min. Driver, Andre Toyota Camry 4.98. Please, she'd thought, fingers trembling. Please let it be him. The Camry pulled up to the curb, familiar and steady. The window slid down. Eliza? His voice was careful this time, like he could already see the fracture in her. She opened the door and sank into the back seat before she could change her mind. Hi. Andre glanced at her in the mirror. His gaze moved over the cardigan, the bare face, the way she was hugging her bag to her chest like a shield. Hey, he said softly. Where to? She stared at her phone, like an answer might appear. Home suddenly felt like a glass box with an expensive view and no air. Just drive for a bit, she said. I'll put something in. He hesitated, then nodded. All right, we'll stay in the city. Meter's running. So is the world. They pulled away from the curb. Silence settled around them, heavier than usual. The faint smell of lemon and coffee wrapped around her like a memory of calm she didn't feel. You hungry? He asked, after a few blocks. The question blindsided her. What? Hungry, he repeated. Have you eaten anything that wasn't caffeine or someone's expectations today? A weak laugh broke out of her. I had a protein bar. That's not food, he said. That's packing material. She snorted despite the ache in her chest. I thought you were an Uber driver, not a nutritionist. I'm a human, he said. Humans do better with food. There's a Nigerian spot a few blocks from here. Best jollof rice in the city. I can swing by the drive-up window. You don't even have to get out. Say no if you want, just offering an upgrade from cardboard. She opened her mouth to reject it on reflex. To say she didn't eat carbs, that she didn't have time, that she wasn't that hungry. Then she remembered lunch, skipping it to answer emails, drinking iced coffee instead of water. Remembered the tremor in her hands during the afternoon call, the way her voice had cracked when a client implied she'd only gotten her promotion because the firm needed diversity in leadership, and then laughed like it was a compliment. Her eyes burned. I could eat, she said quietly. Okay, Andre replied. Say the word if you change your mind. 10 minutes later, they were parked in a dim side street, engine idling. The smell of tomato and spice filled the car, rich and warm. Andre passed a steaming takeout container back to her along with a fork and a small bundle of napkins. You didn't have to. I know, he said. That's why it counts. She stared at it for a moment, then took a bite. The flavor hit her like a wave, smoky, spicy, alive. It grounded her in a way no boardroom ever had. She ate in silence. Tears starting to slip down her cheeks without her permission, she wiped them away angrily. Careful, Andre murmured. You'll water down the jollof. She gave a shaky laugh, then choked on it halfway, a sob punching through. I'm sorry, she gasped, covering her mouth. I don't know what's wrong with me. You're human, he said. That's all. Her shoulders began to shake. The fork clattered against the plastic container as she set it in her lap. I messed up today, she whispered. Badly. Work? He asked. People, she said. Same thing, apparently. She told him, about snapping at the receptionist again that morning, about watching the girl's throat bob as she whispered, Yes, Miss Ward. About the intern she'd publicly humiliated in a meeting because he'd mixed up 2 numbers in a slide. About the client's joke that had cut her to the bone, and how she'd responded by slicing everyone else around her just to prove she wasn't hurt. I saw myself in the boardroom windows, she said, voice raw, and I didn't recognize the woman looking back. I just saw this sharp thing, all edges, no softness, like I'd carved away every part of myself that wasn't impressive enough. Andre listened, elbows resting lightly on the steering wheel, eyes on the rain-streaked windshield. He didn't rush to fill the silence. He didn't tell her she was overreacting. "I sent an email tonight," she went on, horrible and liberating to say it aloud. "To the intern, to the receptionist, to my team, apologizing. I expected it to make me feel better, noble, whatever." She shook her head. "It just made me realize how many of those emails I probably owe." "Did anyone reply?" he asked. "The intern did," she said, throat tightening. "He said, 'Thank you for saying that. I thought I wasn't cut out for this.'" Her voice broke. "He thought he was the problem, not me, not the way I talked to him." Andre was quiet for a moment. Wipers swiped away the thin film of drizzle. "We learn how to survive," he said slowly. "You learned sharpness. It kept you alive in rooms that weren't built for you, but survival tools can turn into weapons if we never put them down." She wiped her face. "I don't know how to put them down without feeling naked." "Naked isn't bad," he said, then winced. "Okay, that sounded different than I meant it." Despite herself, she smiled through the tears. "What I mean," he corrected, smile tugging at the corner of his mouth, "is vulnerable. Vulnerable isn't the same as weak. It just means you're not swinging first." She looked at her reflection in the dark glass of the window. Thick, curvy body curled in on itself, mascara smudged, lips bare without their usual crimson armor. "I don't know how to be this person," she whispered. "What person?" "The one who isn't better than everyone," she said slowly. "Who doesn't have to win every second just to prove she deserves air?" Andre turned in his seat so he could see her more fully. Streetlight traced a soft halo around his profile. "You start by admitting you're not," he said gently. "Better than everyone, I mean. You're not worse than them either. You're just one of them, one of us." Her eyes flew to his. "And who is us, exactly?" "People," he said simply. "People who get tired, people who mess up, people who try again." He paused. "People who eat real food when someone puts it in their hands." She looked down at the half-eaten jollof and took another bite, more slowly this time. "Do you ever feel like you're not enough?" she asked him. "Driving, school, whatever. Do you ever feel like you're playing catch-up with everyone else?" "All the time," he said. "I'm older than most of the people in my classes. I've had professors talk down to me. I've had clients look at me through the rear view and decide I'm less than before I even say hello." His jaw worked. "I feel that. But I decided a while ago that I don't have to make anyone else smaller to stand my full height." The words settled over her like a blanket and a challenge at once. "I don't want to be that woman anymore," she said, voice shaking. "The one who walks into a room and makes everyone flinch." "What kind of woman do you want to be?" he asked. The question stunned her into stillness. No one had ever asked her that. They'd asked her what role she wanted, what title, what income bracket, never who she wanted to be. She thought of the receptionist's lowered eyes, the intern's email, the way her chest had loosened when Andre talked to her like she was a person first, a title second. "I want to be." She searched for the words like they were buried under years of performance. "I want to be someone who sees people, not just what they can do for me, someone people exhale around, not brace for." Andre's eyes softened. "That's a good place to start." "How?" she demanded, desperation seeping in. "I can't just wake up tomorrow and be new." "No," he agreed. "But you can wake up and make one different choice than you did today." He held up a finger. "One. Apologize with your mouth instead of just email. Ask someone how they really are and actually listen. Put your phone down when the receptionist speaks to you. Tell that intern what he did right before you shred the next thing he does wrong." Her laugh came out jagged. "You make it sound easy." "It's simple," he said. "Not easy." Silence fell again, but this time it felt softer, like the space after a storm when the air is finally breathable. "Where do you want to go now?" Andre asked quietly. "Home? Somewhere else?" She thought about her glass tower, the elevator that opened like it knew who she was. She thought about going back there and sitting alone with her thoughts echoing off the walls. "Do you have a place?" she asked, before she could talk herself out of it. "A spot you go when your head's too loud?" He studied her for a beat, weighing trust against caution. Then he nodded. "Yeah," he said. "Buckle up. It's not far." They drove toward the river, the city thinning into quieter streets. Finally, he parked near a small overlook, a patch of concrete and railing where the water below reflected the city like a softer version of itself. No crowds, just a couple of benches and the sound of the river. He turned off the engine. The sudden hush inside the car felt almost sacred. "This is where I come to remember I'm small," he said, in a good way. She looked out at the dark water, the faint ripples catching light. "It's beautiful." "Yeah." They sat in silence for a long time. Eliza breathed in the cool air seeping through the cracked window, matching it to the slow rhythm she'd learned in his car. In for 4, out for 6. For once, nothing was required of her. She didn't have to impress the river. "Thank you," she said at last. "For this. For the food. For listening." "Thank you for trusting me with it," he replied. She hesitated. "Andre?" "Yeah?" "You said you see people when they think you're invisible," she said. "What do you see when you look at me?" He considered her carefully, choosing his words. "I see a thick, beautiful woman who spent most of her life believing she had to turn herself into a weapon to be worthy," he said. "I see someone smart enough to know that isn't working anymore. I see someone standing on the edge of a different way to live, scared to jump, but even more scared to stay where she is." Her eyes filled again, but this time the tears felt cleaner. Less like collapse, more like something being washed away. "Is that all?" she asked, trying to smile. "And I see someone who really likes Jollof when she lets herself," he added. She laughed, truly laughed, and the sound surprised both of them. The moment stretched between them, warm and trembling. She felt an impulse to reach forward, to touch his shoulder, to bridge the space. Instead, she did something harder. She let it be enough. "Would you?" She swallowed. "Would you ever want to get coffee sometime?" "Not as my driver, just as Andre." He met her gaze in the dim car, his expression open, the hint of a smile in his eyes. "Yeah," he said softly, "I think I would. But," he added, lips quirking, "only if you promise not to tip me for listening." She rolled her eyes, but her heart felt strangely light. Deal. Later, when he finally drove her home and she stood alone in her apartment, the city spread below her like a jeweled map, Eliza realized something had shifted. She still had her title, her torn-up-to-earn-it resume, her thick, curvy body and the way rooms parted when she walked in. But for the first time, she didn't feel like she needed to stand above anyone to stand tall. She texted the intern, "Let's grab coffee next week. I want to hear your ideas about that market shift. You were onto something." Then she set her phone down, opened her window just enough to hear the distant rush of the river, and breathed, slow and even, like someone who finally understood. She wasn't better than everyone. She was something far more terrifying and far more freeing. She was just like them, and that was enough.